Saw a tweet right after I finished the show from Mark Feinsand, and apparently the Astros are interested in Sean Murphy of the A's. This would require a trade. This would require the Astros to give up some prospects or maybe a pitcher or something like that. Let's do a short episode to kind of discuss this.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for another edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. Brett actually sent me this like right at the end of the podcast. I didn't see it because I didn't have the chance to check on my phone. And so, according to Mike Feinsand, they said that Sean Murphy is a target for the Houston Astros. They have Martin Maldonado as a catcher, and they would like to upgrade him. And so they've been connected to Willson Contreras. Murphy is a former Gold Glove winner. He's under club control through 2025. And so this literally just happened at what time? 8:11. So I guess I was in the middle of doing a podcast and I didn't see it. So I think somebody in the chat was mentioning it, but I want to do a short edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. This will not be a full version, but Sean Murphy, he's projected to make about $3.5 million in arbitration. This is his first year of arbitration. So this is definitely an interesting candidate. He had 18 home runs last year, batted 250, 332, 426, and 148 games, 116 at catchers. He did cut back in his strikeouts this year, going back from 25%, that where he's been for most of his career, to 20.3 in 2022. And he's a great defensive catcher. So if the Astros are a little bit hesitant about having Willson Contreras as a defensive catcher, I mean, this makes sense. Sean Murphy is a great guy. He's going to be under club control for 3 more seasons. The question is, this is a valuable asset, and the A's are not going to just say, oh, here, this is AirPod, but here, Astros, you can have my most valuable player. So no, the Astros are going to have to pay dearly for it. I don't know how dearly. A catcher is a pretty valuable position, especially a cheap catcher like that. So I know that if you're looking at, where's his stats? So this is only his 4th year in the major league. In 2021, he batted 216 with 710 OPS. His career OPS is 755. Last year, he had OPS plus of 120. His career OPS plus is 114. He had 4 home runs, 7 home runs, 17 home runs, 18 home runs. So this is definitely an intriguing player. I know we talked about this before, but the question is, how much would you have to give up? Oh, let me put my name up there. That would help. So how much would you have to give up for Sean Murphy? Is it worth it? Are the Astros just wasting their talent when they could just go get Willson Contreras? Contreras could offer more offense, maybe not as maybe more strikeouts, maybe not as good of a defensive player, but he's still a good player. Yes, you're going to have to pay him a lot more, or are you going to go with the cheaper option? So that's just something that the Astros are deciding. I think what you're seeing right now is the Astros are sold on maybe getting Contreras. Maybe they're not sold on Martin Maldonado's offense anymore. And so they're really looking to upgrade at catcher. We saw Jim Crane mention this at Jose Abreu's press conference. He said, we are looking to upgrade at catcher. So this is awesome. So if this really happens, that's great, but how much? So no, they did not sign him. This is just I'll go ahead and read the tweet again. So The Astros have emerged as a potential suitor for Sean Murphy, per source. Houston currently has Martin Maldonado as its catcher, but has been connected to free agent Wilson Contreras. Murphy, a former Gold Glove winner, is under club control through 2025. He's only projected to make $3.5 million this year. So it's a cheap catcher. So instead of giving Contreras 17 to 20 million, whatever you're going to give him per season, you can have a cheaper catcher for the next few years. Maybe you can trade for Sean Murphy and be like, hey, look, do you like winning? If you want to win for a long time, go ahead and sign with the Houston Astros. So I think that that's something that could be cool, but I don't know if Jim Crane will do that. We'll see. I know the Astros minor league system is not steaming hot with talent, but the player that could be going in this deal? Corey Lee. If you're going to get somebody like Sean Murphy, Corey Lee is going to have to be involved, maybe a pitching arm. So somebody like that. So if you see a deal for like Corey Lee or Diaz, one of those two guys has got to be going. So you heard Dusty Baker in the other podcast. He said, well, if we're going to sign Wilson Contreras, then we're going to have to possibly, or if we're going to sign somebody or trade for, maybe he meant to say trade for somebody, we're going to have to trade away one of our younger players so we don't stunt their growth. Maybe this was what he was hinting at. I don't know. I don't know if he knows everything that's going through Jim Crane's odds. I don't know if he can bet on that or not, but betonline.net is your number one source for all sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer and esports. We got to hear at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. So I don't think a lot of us bet that in the middle of my podcast that this news would come out. But I think that, thank you, World Traveler, for your comment. But Jonathan suggests that maybe they trade Corey Lee and Jake Myers. I know the Astros front office is pretty high on Jake Myers, but I don't know if the rest of baseball is pretty high. So on Corey Lee. So I could be wrong, but this is, let me see. Bill Furcus said Jim Crane is not going to attend the winter meetings. Furcus called Crane the final decider on baseball operation moves and deferred mostly to Crane's prior comments about the team's priority this offseason. So that's kind of weird that Jim Crane is not going to be at the winter meeting. So maybe Dusty Baker and Furcus are going to sit down with Wilson Contreras, and maybe this is mostly just for Contreras to get to know what the Astros organization is like. But if that doesn't work, then maybe that's, Astro Wolf Craig says, maybe this is a smokescreen. The interest in Murphy is just to get Contreras to sign quickly. Yeah, maybe that's somebody just said, hey, let's leak some information that the Astros are interested in Murphy. And Contreras is like, well, I actually want to win a World Series once in a lifetime. I can't do that with the Cubs. So let me go ahead and jump on with the Astros. Because believe it or not, guys, the Astros are, despite their history, people do want to play for the Houston Astros. And because they do have a chance to get back to the World Series. Yes, you did lose Justin Verlander, but of all the teams in baseball, they do have a chance to kind of come back from that. So why trade for Sean Murphy? Yes, you have to give up a player like Corey Lee or a Yainer Diaz, but this guy still has 3 years of team control. You can always extend him. So we'll see what happens in this situation. But I just wanted to kind of just throw this out there because Brett sent me this. I saw the notification, but I just didn't get a chance to look at it. But I'm curious about if this actually happens. But Sean Murphy had 18 home runs last year, a 250 batting average, OPS plus of 120. He struck out 124 times in 537 plate appearances. So He was actually 22nd in MVP votes. Wow. He's almost there. Just a little bit more, and he can win that MVP. But he did win the Golden Glove in 2021. He finished fourth in a rookie year in 2020. So this guy is still early in his career. He's only 28 years old as of right now. So I think that this could be a good move. But the question is, how much would you have to give up? If it's Corey Lee and maybe somebody else, that may be something to think of. But this is from Mark Feinstein. So he's a pretty notable reporter, and he said this is from a source. So I'm not going to go too much deeper into this. I just want to kind of throw it out there. You take it for what you will. But that's what the winter meetings is all about. It's all about like all the rumors, all the possibilities. And that's what the Locked On Astros podcast is all about. So make sure you tune into us all winter meetings, all off season, and let's just talk Astros baseball. Are the Astros going to sign Wilson Contreras? Are they going to trade for Sean Murphy? What's going to happen, Martin Maldonado? Because something I forgot to mention in the last podcast, because Martin Maldonado is a clubhouse favorite. Yuli Gurriel is a clubhouse favorite. So if those two guys aren't on the roster next year, that could have an impact on the culture a little bit. So as much as we don't like the defense, I mean, not the defense. The defense is good from Martin Maldonado. Much as we don't like the offense and him batting below the Mendoza line, he does play great catcher, and he is great with the pitching staff. But at the end of the day, there I go turning to Brett. Just kidding, Brett. At the end of the day, you've got to do what's best for your team. And I think Jim Crane's looking at the fact that you can't have holes in your lineup. You can't have automatic outs, as somebody put. And I think the last person that was not an automatic out, I want to say Brian McCann, but that was still a little bit iffy. There was one season, Jason Castro was a pretty good catcher. And I know Sumo says, well, he doesn't make sense. He won't back up Machete. What's going to happen is if you trade for Sean Murphy, they're going to trade Martin Maldonado. I mean, you can't have two starting catchers on this team. Murphy's not going to come over here. I mean, I don't think he has any veto rights or anything, but the Astros aren't going to give up that much, what it's going to take to get him. He's not a rental. He's a controlled player. So you're going to have to give up a lot. So the Astros are trading. If they trade for him, it will be as the starting catcher. And that will likely be the end of Martin Maldonado's career, because Martin Maldonado and Sean Murphy are basically the same defensively. So if you can upgrade at offense, that's what the Astros are looking at. So that's all I got for this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. And we'll be back tomorrow, and go Astros. And hopefully I didn't miss another tweet in doing this show, and I have to come back on. So make sure you go and subscribe to us on YouTube. I don't know if I'm going to put this on audio. I may put this on audio, but make sure you go ahead and make us your first listen every day. And we'll be back tomorrow with another edition, and go Astros.